What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the life you want isn't talent, money, or luck, but simply your own hesitation? Yes, hesitation, the silent thief. It whispers that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that someone else could do it better. And while it whispers, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Doors close. Regret settles in. But what if you could break that pattern today? Let me ask you something plain and true. Have you ever missed an opportunity? Not because you weren't ready, but because you didn't believe you were? Have you ever sat frozen at the edge of decision, watching your courage retreat like the tide, only to be left with the hollow ache of regret? If that sounds like you, then read this through to the end. Not because I say so, but because deep down, you know it's time. It's time to stop doubting and start doing. Because let me tell you something I've learned through years of watching people transform before my eyes. Action is the antidote to doubt. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You don't even need to be confident. You just need to start moving, because confidence is not the cause of action. It's the result. In the pages ahead, I'm going to walk with you, not ahead, not above, but beside you. We'll talk about the steps, the stumbles, and the surprising truths that can set a person free from the chains of self-doubt. So stay with me, because once you understand how to break the cycle of hesitation and step into your strength, you won't just change your days, you'll change your destiny. Now let's get something clear from the start. Confidence isn't a gift, it's a skill. And like any skill, it's learned, practiced, and earned through experience, not handed down like a family heirloom. Most folks believe they need confidence to act. But the truth is, you act your way into confidence, not the other way around. I've stood before thousands of people, men and women from every walk of life, and watched as trembling voices grew firm, hunched shoulders stood tall, and once timid souls stepped into leadership. Not because they waited for the fear to pass, but because they acted in spite of it. Let me tell you what I told them. You don't need to feel ready, you need to feel responsible. Responsible for your growth, for your potential, for the message inside you that deserves to be heard. Whether that's in a boardroom, a classroom, or across the dinner table. When you act on what matters, doubt begins to lose its grip. Not because fear disappears, but because your focus shifts. And where your attention goes, your energy follows. So don't waste your best years waiting to feel ready. That feeling may never come. What will come is the quiet power that builds each time you show up, speak up, and stand up, even when your knees are shaking. In the next part, we'll uncover a simple but powerful mindset shift that silences the inner critic and sets your feet moving in the right direction. Let's talk about that voice in your head. The one that tells you you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. We all have it. Some folks just learn how to stop letting it drive the car. That inner critic is not some divine judgment. It's often nothing more than old fears, past failures, and other people's opinions, repackaged in your own voice. And it shows up most loudly right before we're about to do something meaningful. Now here's the good news. You can retrain that voice. When that critic says, "You're not qualified," answer back, "Then this is how I grow." When it whispers, You'll embarrass yourself. Respond. Maybe, but I'll survive and I'll learn. You don't beat self-doubt with silence. You beat it with action and a better voice, your inner coach. That's the voice that reminds you of your values, your goals, and your potential. It doesn't shout false praise. It speaks firm truth. You've done hard things before. You can do this too. Confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from proving to yourself over and over again that you can get back up, that you can speak, move, and act, not because you're fearless, but because what you're moving toward matters more than what's standing in your way. And if you'll keep showing up one small step at a time, the critic will grow quieter. Not because it's gone, but because you're no longer listening. In the next part, we'll dig into how to turn preparation into power and why it's the bridge between anxiety and confidence. If doubt is the disease, then preparation is the prescription. I've watched men tremble at the thought of standing before a crowd. Yet, after just a few weeks of preparation, honest, intentional, specific, they stood tall and spoke with clarity, as if fear had never known their name. It wasn't magic. It was method. You see, confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations in the mirror. It comes from knowing deep down that you've done the work, that you've thought it through, practiced it aloud, rehearsed the tough questions, and run your mind through the challenge 100 times before stepping up once in public. Preparation gives you something solid to stand on when the winds of doubt start to blow. But don't mistake preparation for perfection. You'll never be fully ready, and thank heaven for that. The growth is in the doing. What preparation does is build a bridge over your hesitation. It's not a guarantee of success, but a guarantee that when fear shows up, you'll be ready to move anyway. So write the speech, outline the plan, rehearse the pitch, study the role, walk through the door, and when you do, let this truth be your backbone. I may not be perfect, but I am prepared, and that's enough to begin. In the next part, we'll look at the habit that separates dreamers from doers, and how you can build it into your life starting today. Let me share something that's easy to overlook but powerful beyond measure. What you do consistently matters more than what you do occasionally. Anyone can muster a moment of bravery now and then, but real change, lasting confidence, comes not from a single leap, but from the daily steps you take in spite of your fear. That's the habit I'm talking about. Acting before you're fully comfortable, regularly, intentionally, persistently. It might be speaking up in a meeting, making that phone call, introducing yourself at a gathering. Small acts, yes, but each one is a vote for the person you're becoming. And the more you cast those votes, the more your identity shifts. You stop being someone who wishes they could. You become someone who does. You don't need a dramatic transformation. What you need is repetition, courage on a schedule. A little every day. Just enough to keep momentum alive and fear off balance. And here's the miracle. The habit of action rewires your mind. What once felt terrifying becomes familiar. What was once avoided becomes automatic. And one day, almost without realizing it, you'll look back and wonder why you ever doubted yourself at all. So pick one small action today, just one, and follow through. Then do it again tomorrow. Not for applause, not for perfection, but for progress. Because that's how courage is built. One decision at a time. In the next part, we'll explore the mindset shift that moves you from self-focus to service, and why that's the true path to freedom from doubt. Here's a quiet truth that can change everything. Self-doubt thrives in self-focus. When you're consumed with how you look, how you sound, what others might think of you, you give doubt a stage and a spotlight. But when you shift your attention from yourself to something greater, doubt loses its grip. I've seen people go from paralyzed to powerful the moment they realized, this isn't about me, it's about who I can help. That's the secret. Whether you're speaking, leading, creating, or simply showing up, the moment you make it about serving others instead of protecting your image, you become braver. Not because the fear disappears, but because the purpose gets bigger than the fear. You stop performing. You start connecting. And the irony? When you stop trying to impress people, you start to influence them. When you stop obsessing over your words, you start speaking from the heart. And when you stop fearing judgment, you begin offering something the world can actually use. The greatest confidence isn't rooted in ego. It's rooted in mission. So next time you feel paralyzed by doubt, ask yourself this simple question. Who am I trying to help? Then focus all your energy there. Pour your heart into the message, the moment, the mission. Because when your eyes are fixed on serving, your feet start moving, and fear has no room to stay. In the next part, we'll uncover how failure isn't your enemy. It's your instructor, and a faithful one at that. If there's one fear that feeds self-doubt more than any other, it's this, the fear of failure. We treat failure like a verdict, final, personal, unforgiving. But let me tell you what I've seen in every walk of life, from the boardroom to the back porch. Failure isn't a wall, it's a door, and it only swings open for those brave enough to knock. You see, the most successful, confident people I've ever met weren't the ones who avoided failure. They were the ones who learned from it quickly, humbly, and fully. They saw every mistake as a clue, every stumble as a signal, and every closed door as a course correction. The difference between those who grow and those who shrink isn't what happens to them. It's what they do with it. So when things go wrong, and they will, don't say, I'm a failure. Say instead, that was a lesson. What's it here to teach me? Because lessons aren't losses unless you ignore them. In truth, failure only defines you if you let it. But if you stand up, dust off, and keep walking, it does something else entirely. It refines you. It chisels away your pride, sharpens your resolve, and gives your success a depth that comfort never could. That's not a punishment, that's a gift. So don't avoid failure. Welcome it when it comes. Just don't unpack and live in it. Learn, adapt, and act again, wiser this time. In the next part, we'll look at why waiting to feel ready is the enemy of progress, and how to start moving even when you're uncertain. If I could give you one truth to carry with you for the rest of your life, it would be this. Ready is not a feeling. It's a decision. Too many people sit on the edge of their dreams waiting for a moment of certainty, a flash of lightning, a surge of confidence, a voice from above that says, now is the time. But life rarely works like that. The truth is, you won't feel ready when it's time to grow. You'll feel nervous. You'll feel unsure. You'll second guess yourself. And that's exactly when you must act. Courage doesn't arrive before the first step. It follows it. Like a shadow trailing your motion. You don't summon confidence and then move. You move and confidence rises to meet you. Some of the most life-changing decisions I've ever seen were made by people who were still shaking when they said yes. But they said yes anyway. They applied. They spoke up. They started. They showed up scared, but they showed up. And that made all the difference. So let go of the myth that you must feel certain before you act. You don't. What you need is commitment, not to the outcome, but to the effort, to the becoming. Because you don't need to feel ready to be ready. You just need to move with all the resolve you can muster and trust that the strength will rise as you walk. In the next part, we'll explore the power of environment. How the people and places around you can either feed your doubt or fuel your action. If you've ever planted a seed, you know it doesn't just need water. It needs sunlight, space, and the right soil. Without those things, it doesn't matter how much potential is packed inside that tiny seed. It won't grow. You're no different. Your environment matters more than you think. I've seen folks with extraordinary potential stay stuck for years, not because they lacked ability, but because they were surrounded by the wrong voices. The cynics, the critics, the folks who see action as a risk and dreams as foolishness. If you want to stop doubting yourself, take a good look around. Are you spending your time with people who pull you forward or pull you down? It's a hard truth, but here it is. Some of your self-doubt may not be coming from you. It may be borrowed, picked up from the words, the tone, the energy of those around you. That's why you need to be intentional. Seek out people who believe in growth, who value courage more than comfort, who see potential in you even when you've forgotten it yourself. Better still, become that kind of person for someone else. Because when you encourage others, you remind yourself of what's possible too. Build your life like a greenhouse. Clear out the weeds, bring in the light, and surround yourself with the conditions that make growth not just possible, but inevitable. In the final part, we'll tie it all together, and I'll share one final truth that can carry you forward long after the doubt has passed. So here we are. We've talked about fear, about failure, about the inner voice that questions your worth. We've explored preparation, habit, service, and environment. But if you remember nothing else, remember this. You were not designed to stay stuck. You were made to move. Doubt will visit you. It visits us all. But it doesn't have to make its home in you. Because now you know action is stronger than anxiety. Purpose is louder than fear. And momentum, however small, is a mighty force. No one drifts into confidence. No one accidentally becomes bold. But every person who walks with courage began by moving before they felt ready. They took the step. They asked the question. They stood up and spoke out. Not because they knew they'd succeed, but because they refused to remain still. And that's what I'm asking of you now. Don't wait. Begin. Send the message. Take the class. Make the call. Say yes. Say no. Show up. Stand tall. Get back up. Whatever your step is, take it. Let that step be the spark that sets your belief ablaze. Because you, my friend, are not a question mark. You're not a maybe. You're not a someday. You are capable, called, and completely ready to begin. So go on. Start acting. And let doubt find no place to stand.